The courtyard fell silent when the princess broke down in tears and whispered a truth no child should ever carry. Power tried to bury it. Status tried to deny it. But one royal guard chose courage over command, and a single moment shattered years of silence inside the palace. This story is about pain, bravery, and protection that changed a kingdom forever. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and watch till the end. No one noticed the first tear. It did not fall with sound or urgency. It slipped quietly from the child's face and struck the pale stone near the boots of the guard. One small mark. Easy to miss, easy to ignore. It belonged to Princess Eleanor of Raventon, a girl raised beneath chandeliers and rules, taught to smile through discomfort and keep family matters. Locked behind polished doors, she had practiced silence for months. Princess Eleanor stood in the eastern courtyard of Ashburn Keep, hands clasped around a canvas satchel that she carried everywhere now. The strap pressed deep into her fingers, coiled tight as if letting go might cause something worse than pain. She was not running. She was not wandering. She was simply walking, slow and deliberate, as though every step demanded permission. Sergeant Marcus Hale noticed immediately. He stood beneath the south archway, rifle secured, posture exact. 15 years of service in the Royal Guard had trained his eyes to catch what others missed. A stiff shoulder, a delayed breath, the quiet signals of distress that never appeared in reports. Today was a low-risk rotation. No ceremonies. No press. No visitors expected beyond inner court staff. Yet the child walking alone changed the atmosphere. Princess Eleanor crossed the courtyard laughing, trailing tutors, humming fragments of songs she liked. Today, her gaze remained fixed on the ground. Her shoulders curved inward. Each step looked rehearsed. Marcus shifted his weight. His hand rested closer to the rifle than protocol required. She stopped 3 paces from him for several seconds. Neither spoke. Wind stirred the ivy along the sandstone walls. Somewhere in the inner wing, a steward called orders for a changing guard. Life continued as normal. Then her breath broke. Princess Eleanor tried to speak once. Nothing came. Her mouth opened again, lips trembling, throat locked by something far heavier than fear. Marcus lowered his voice. "Your Highness, you are safe here." Her knees buckled. He moved before thought finished forming. Marcus stepped forward, lowering to one knee, placing himself between her and the open courtyard. She folded into his side, gripping the edge of his uniform with shaking hands. Another tear fell. Then another. Her words came out broken, pressed from her chest with effort that stole her breath. "Please," she said, barely audible, "please do not let him touch me again." The world narrowed. Children did not say again unless something had already happened. Marcus felt the cold travel through his arms and settle behind his eyes. He did not ask questions. He did not demand details. He adjusted his stance so that his body shielded hers completely. "Who?" I asked calmly. She did not answer. Footsteps echoed across stone. Marcus looked up. "Lord Adrian?" Vale entered the courtyard through the west passage, coat immaculate, expression relaxed. He was a man known to the court, trusted, welcomed. He smiled as though arriving late to tea, rather than stepping into a moment that had just fractured. Princess Eleanor stiffened. Her fingers dug into Marcus's sleeve. Her breathing turned sharp and shallow. She tried to step backward, pressing herself against the guard, as though the stone wall behind him become the only solid thing left. Marcus rose slowly. He placed one hand behind him, palm open, signaling her to stay where she was. His other hand moved deliberately toward his rifle. "Lord Vale," Marcus said, voice controlled. "You will stop where you are." Adrian laughed lightly. "Sergeant, you misunderstand. I am family," Princess Eleanor whimpered. The sound tore through Marcus's restraint. "I gave a command," Marcus replied. "Do not move closer." Adrian took a step anyway. Marcus adjusted his stance. He calculated distance, angle, and ground. His training did not allow panic. It allowed precision. "Step back," said. Adrian reached out. Marcus raised the rifle. The crack split the air. Stone exploded near the fountain's base, fragments scattering across the courtyard. Birds burst from the battlements. Voices shouted from distant corridors. The sound rolled through Ashburn Keep like a truth finally given volume. Adrian froze. Princess Eleanor collapsed to her knees, sobbing openly now. The secret she had carried too long, finally exposed to daylight. Marcus did not lower the rifle. He stood between the child and the man, unwavering. "This ends here," he said, and for the first time that day, the castle listened. The echo of the rifle shot did not fade quickly. It clung to the stone arches of Ashburn Keep. Rolling through corridors where secrets had lived comfortably for generations, guards poured into the courtyard from 3 directions, boots striking stone in urgent rhythm. Courtiers appeared at balconies. Servants froze mid-step. The castle, so practiced in order, hesitated. Princess Eleanor remained on her knees behind Sergeant Marcus Hale, her face buried against his uniform. Her sobs shook her small frame, raw and unrestrained. As if her body understood that silence no longer served her, Marcus remained still. His rifle stayed raised, not aimed at flesh, but at authority itself. Years of discipline anchored his posture. His heart pounded, yet his breathing stayed measured. He had crossed a line that could not be erased, and he knew it. Still, he did not regret it. Captain Roland Pierce arrived first. Eyes sharp, hand raised to signal restraint. "Stand down." "Sergeant," the captain ordered, voice steady but cautious. Marcus did not move. "Sir Marcus," replied, tone formal. "The child is in danger. I am holding position." Captain Pierce followed Marcus's line of sight and saw Lord Adrian Vale standing pale and rigid. His confidence shattered, his smile gone. Then he saw Princess Eleanor trembling, clinging to the guard as if he were the last wall before collapse. The captain exhaled slowly. "Lower the weapon," he said. "No one advances." Marcus lowered the rifle halfway. Enough to comply, not enough to surrender. Lady Marwan Vale entered moments later, her presence commanding immediate attention. She moved with practiced authority, eyes already searching for blame. Her gaze snapped from the broken stone near the fountain to Marcus, then finally to her son. "What has happened here?" she demanded. No one answered at first. Princess Eleanor lifted her head. Her eyes were red, her face streaked with tears. She did not look royal in that moment. She looked like a child who had carried a burden far heavier than her years. "He hurts me," she said softly. The words did not echo. They landed. Lady Marwan stiffened. "That is a serious accusation," she replied, voice sharp. "Guards, remove the child from this scene." Marcus stepped forward instantly. "No," he said. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. "You will mind your place." Lady Marwan snapped. "My place is between her and harm," Marcus answered. "I will not move her." Captain Pierce raised his hand again, higher this time. "No one touches the princess," he said. "Clear the courtyard." Murmurs swelled into shock. This was no longer a private moment. This was unraveling in full view of the court. Princess Eleanor stood slowly. Her legs shook, yet she stayed upright. She wiped her face with her sleeve, the satchel still clutched tight against her chest. "I tried to tell," she said. "I tried many times. I was told to stay quiet. I was told it would cause trouble. I was told it would pass." Her voice grew stronger with each sentence. It did not pass. Lady Marwan stepped forward, her expression controlled but strained. "You misunderstand affection," she said coldly. "Children imagine threats where none exist." Princess Eleanor flinched. Marcus placed himself beside her again, shoulders squared. "She understands pain," he said. "She understands fear. Those are not imagination." Silence that followed felt dangerous. Then a voice spoke from the balcony above. "Enough." Lord Chancellor Everon stepped into view, his presence forcing stillness. He looked down at the courtyard, eyes settling on the child. "Princess," he said gently, Do you feel safe right now? Eleanor shook her head. No, she answered. I only feel safe here. She reached for Marcus's sleeve again. The meaning was unmistakable. The Chancellor nodded once. Then she remains under guard protection, he declared. Captain Pierce, escort Lord Adrian Vale to secured quarters. Lady Marwyn Vale, you will accompany him, Lady Marwyn protested. Her voice rose. Her authority cracked. This is outrageous, she said. One guard fires a weapon, and the court bends. The Chancellor looked directly at her. One guard protected a child, he said. The court listens. Adrian Vale attempted to speak. No words formed. 2 guards stepped in beside him. Princess Eleanor released a breath she had held too long. Her shoulders slumped. Tears returned, slower now, quieter. Marcus knelt beside her. You did well, he said softly. She looked at him, eyes searching. I was scared, she said. I know, he replied. You were brave anyway. As the courtyard emptied, whispers followed them like shadows. Some spoke of protocol. Some spoke of disgrace. Others spoke of truth. None could deny that something had shifted. That night, Ashburn Keep did not sleep, and neither did the people who feared what the morning would demand. Morning did not bring peace. Ashburn Keep woke beneath a weight that pressed against every corridor and chamber. Doors closed more softly. Voices stayed low. Even the flags above the battlements hung still, as though the wind itself chose caution. Princess Eleanor sat in a small, sunlit room near the eastern tower, wrapped in a wool blanket that smelled faintly of lavender. A physician had examined her at dawn. A counselor waited outside. Guards stood at every entrance. Yet fear did not leave with the night. She stared at the satchel resting in her lap. Inside lay folded drawings, letters never sent, and a ribbon she once kept braided into her hair. Proof of a childhood interrupted. Proof she had hidden even from herself. Sergeant Marcus Hale stood outside the chamber, posture formal, eyes alert. He had not slept. Every sound in the corridor registered as potential threat. Protection no longer felt symbolic. It felt urgent. Captain Pierce joined him, carrying a sealed document. The council convenes within the hour, the captain said. They want your statement. Marcus nodded. They will question everything, Pierce continued. Your judgment. Your intent. Your loyalty. My loyalty stands, Marcus replied. So does my account. Pierce studied him carefully. You understand the consequences, he said. Marcus met his gaze. I understood them the moment the rifle fired. Inside the chamber, Princess Eleanor listened to footsteps pass. Each echo tightened her chest. She rose from the chair and crossed to the window, watching the courtyard below. Guards moved in careful patterns now. No one lingered. No one smiled. A knock sounded. She flinched. It is only me, said Lady Corin Ashfeld, appointed guardian advocate. Her voice carried warmth without pressure. Eleanor opened the door. Lady, Ashfeld knelt to meet her eye level. You are not in trouble, she said. What you share today will shape what happens next. Eleanor swallowed. Will they believe me? She asked. They will listen, Ashfeld answered. That matters. Eleanor nodded slowly. In the council chambers, stone walls bore witness to centuries of quiet decisions. Today, tension cracked that tradition. Lords and officials filled the seats, their expressions carefully neutral. Marcus stood alone at the center, Lord Chancellor. Everin addressed him. Sergeant Hale. Recount the events of yesterday in full. Marcus spoke without embellishment. He described the tear, the words spoken by the child, the approach, the warning, the shot. I acted to prevent harm, he concluded. I would do so again, murmurs followed. Lady Marwyn Vale rose immediately. This guard violated protocol, she said sharply. He endangered lives. He acted on emotion rather than fact. Chancellor Everin raised his hand. The child will speak next. Princess Eleanor entered quietly, Lady Ashfeld beside her. Her steps faltered only once. Marcus did not look at her. He did not want her to feel watched. She stood before the council, hands clasped. "I did not want this," she began. "I wanted it to stop." Her voice trembled, then steadied. "He told me no one would believe a child. He said it would ruin the family. He said silence was kindness." His tears gathered but did not fall. "I believed him," she said, "until I could not breathe anymore." The room felt smaller. Lady Marwyn interrupted. "This is manipulation," she said. "Children absorb fear from rumor." Princess Eleanor looked up. "I know the difference between fear and pain," she said. "Pain stays." Silence followed. Then Chancellor Everon spoke. "Princess Eleanor will remain under full protection," he declared. "An independent inquiry begins immediately." Lady Marwyn protested again, louder now. She spoke of reputation, of legacy, of damage. Chancellor Everon listened. Then he said quietly, "Legacy without truth is rot." The words ended debate. Outside the chamber, Marcus waited. He heard raised voices through stone, then the hush that followed resolution. Princess Eleanor emerged later, shoulders slumped but eyes clearer. She stopped when she saw Marcus. "They listened," she said. Marcus inclined his head. "You were." "Heard," he replied. She hesitated. "Will things get worse now?" she asked. Marcus answered. "Honestly, they may," he said, "but you will not face them alone." She nodded. That evening, rumors spread beyond the keep. Some questioned the guard. Some doubted the child. Others whispered that courage had finally broken a cycle too long protected by silence. Marcus stood watch beneath the same arch as the day before. The stone near the fountain still bore the mark of shattered impact. A reminder: truth had a cost, and the kingdom had begun to pay it. Pressure did not arrive loudly. It crept through. Ashburn Keep in sealed letters, lowered gazes, and doors that closed a second too early. By the third day after the council hearing, Sergeant Marcus Hale understood that truth had shifted the balance of the court, and power did not forgive disruption. He stood before the review commission at dawn. 3 officials sat behind a long oak table. None wore uniforms. None smiled. "Your actions place the crown at risk," the presiding officer said. "A discharged weapon inside the inner courtyard violates standing order." Marcus held his posture. "My actions prevented harm to a protected minor," he replied. "I followed duty of care." "Duty does not replace protocol," another official countered. "Emotion clouds judgment." Marcus lifted his eyes. "Neglect clouds judgment," he said calmly. "Protection requires decision." The officials exchanged glances. "You will surrender your rifle," the presiding officer ordered. "Temporary suspension pending outcome." Marcus removed the weapon slowly, setting it on the table. Metal touched wood with finality. "I remain available for guard duty," he said. "Without arms," the official replied. "You will escort no one. You will intervene nowhere." Marcus nodded. Outside, Captain Pierce waited. "They are trying to isolate you," the captain said quietly. "They believe distance will weaken resolve." "It will not," Marcus replied. Princess Eleanor learned of the suspension before noon. She sat in the advocacy room, hands folded tightly, listening as Lady Ashfeld explained. "They say he acted too far," Eleanor said. "They say rules matter more than people." Lady Ashfeld chose her words carefully. "Rules protect systems," she said. "Courage protects lives." Eleanor stood abruptly. "I want to see him," she said. Security hesitated. Orders shifted. Eventually, permission came with limits. Marcus waited near the Old North Gallery, unarmed, still in uniform. He looked smaller without the rifle, though his presence carried the same gravity. Eleanor approached slowly. "They took your weapon," she said. Double quotes, "yes." Marcus replied. "Because of me," she added. Marcus knelt to meet her height. "Because of truth," he corrected. "And truth never belongs to one person." She searched his face. "Are you afraid?" she asked. Marcus considered the question. "I am aware," he said. "Fear comes later. She nodded, absorbing that. Across the keep, resistance organized quietly. Letters arrived from former commanders supporting Marcus. Other guards adjusted rotations to remain near Eleanor whenever possible. Servants shared whispered encouragement. A pattern formed. Unseen by those who believed authority moved in straight lines. Lady Marwyn Vale noticed. She convened private meetings. She questioned loyalty. She implied consequences. Her influence pressed hard against fragile order. Then the inquiry report leaked. Fragments reached the public court. Not conclusions, but patterns, timelines, warnings ignored, concerns dismissed. The silence surrounding Eleanor no longer looked accidental. The atmosphere turned. Marcus received summons again. This time alone, Lady Marwan stood waiting. "You have disrupted generations of trust," she said coldly. "This did not need spectacle." "A child needed safety," Marcus replied. "You are not the judge," she said. "You are a guard." "Guard stands," he answered. Even when told to kneel, her eyes hardened. "You will leave this service," she said, quietly. "Accept reassignment beyond the capital." Marcus did not hesitate. He said, the word hung between them. "You risk everything," she warned. Marcus met her gaze. "Some things are already risked," he said. That night, Princess Eleanor could not sleep. She walked to the window and watched torches move along the walls. Her chest tightened with a familiar ache. She remembered Marcus kneeling beside her, remembered the sound that shattered silence, remembered the weight lifting from her breath for the first time in months. She wrote a letter, not dictated, not edited. Her own hand, uneven but deliberate, she addressed it to the Chancellor, to the Council, to anyone willing to read. She wrote about fear, about warning signs, about the moment safety arrived in the shape of one person who did not look away. At dawn, the letter circulated. It reached guards, clerks, courtiers. It reached people who recognized their own quiet moments, and her words' support surged where resistance once held. By midday, the review commission reconvened. Marcus stood before them again. This time, the room felt different. "The suspension is lifted," the presiding officer said stiffly. "Pending final inquiry." Marcus accepted the rifle returned to him. Metal met hand again, outside. Princess Eleanor waited. She smiled when she saw him, not wide, not triumphant. Free. And the kingdom understood something it had long forgotten. A system could survive broken rules. A child could not survive silence. The trial did not open with ceremony. There were no banners, no music, no rehearsed grandeur. It began on a gray morning beneath a sky that refused to brighten, as though even the weather understood the gravity of what the kingdom faced. Ashburn Keep opened its highest chamber not for tradition, but for truth. Princess Eleanor entered through a side passage, guarded closely, her steps slow but steady. She wore a simple blue dress, unadorned, chosen not for rank, but for comfort. In her hands, she carried the same satchel. The weight inside no longer crushed her. It steadied her. Sergeant Marcus Hale stood at his assigned post along the eastern wall. His rifle rested against his shoulder, returned to him not as forgiveness, but as necessity. His eyes remained forward, yet his awareness never left the child across the room. The chamber filled. Officials took their seats. Observers lined the walls. Messengers moved quietly. Every breath seemed measured. This was not only a trial of one man's actions. It was an examination of a system that had relied on silence as structure. Lord Chancellor Everon opened proceedings. "This inquiry concerns the safety of a child, the conduct of a trusted court member, and the response of those sworn to protect," he said. "No status will shield truth today." Lady Marwyn Vale sat rigid, her expression composed, her hands folded. Beside her sat Lord Adrian Vale, his confidence replaced by tension he could not hide. His eyes avoided the center of the chamber. Witnesses spoke first. A tutor described changes in Princess Eleanor's behavior. A steward recounted warnings raised and dismissed. A physician spoke of stress, responses consistent with prolonged fear. Each account tightened the air. Lady Marwen rose to respond. These interpretations lack intent. She said, misunderstanding escalated by an overzealous guard. Her gaze flicked briefly toward Marcus. He fired a weapon inside the keep, she continued. That act alone endangered many. Chancellor Everin nodded. Sergeant Hale will answer, he said. Marcus stepped forward. I acted after receiving a direct plea for protection, he said. I issued warning. I used force only to create distance. Would you do so again? Lady Marwen challenged. Marcus did not hesitate. Yes, he said. Protection does not wait for permission when danger stands within reach. Murmurs spread, then quieted. Then Princess Eleanor was called. The chamber seemed to hold its breath as she approached the center. She placed the satchel at her feet. I speak because I choose to, she said. Not because I was told. She described moments small enough to hide from adults. Lingering hands, closed doors, words designed to confuse, promises that silence equaled safety. I believed I was responsible, she said. Children believe what they are taught. Her voice did not shake. When I spoke, I was afraid, she continued. When he stood in front of me, I was not alone. Her eyes moved briefly to Marcus. Gratitude passed without need for acknowledgement. Lady Marwen stood abruptly. This is manipulation, she said sharply. A child influenced by suggestion? Princess Eleanor turned to face her fully. No one suggested fear, she said. Fear arrived first. The room stilled. Chancellor Everon raised his hand. Enough, he said. The court has heard sufficient testimony. Deliberation followed behind closed doors. Hours stretched outside the chamber. Tension spread through the keep and beyond its walls. News reached towns. Citizens gathered. Guards whispered among themselves. The trial had become more than judgment. It had become reflection. When the doors opened again, silence fell instantly. Chancellor Everin stood. The court finds that Princess Eleanor was subjected to repeated violations of trust and safety, he declared. The failures surrounding her protection reflect systemic neglect. Lady Marwen stiffened. Lord Adrian Vale is removed from all court privileges effective immediately. The Chancellor continued. He will face criminal proceedings under full authority of law. Gasps followed, and regarding Sergeant Marcus Hale, Everin said. Turning slightly, Marcus stood tall. The court recognizes his actions as protective intervention under extraordinary circumstances, the Chancellor said. His service record remains intact. Relief did not come as cheers. It came as exhale. Princess Eleanor closed her eyes briefly. Tears gathered, not from pain, but release. Lady Marwen did not speak again, as the chamber emptied. Marcus remained at his post until ordered otherwise. Princess Eleanor passed by him on her way out. She paused. Thank you, she said simply. Marcus inclined his head. You spoke, he replied. That changed everything. Crown had survived, but had been forced to look inward, and the kingdom understood now that authority without compassion could no longer stand. Unchallenged, truth had reached the highest chamber, and it was not finished yet. Healing did not arrive as a celebration. There were no bells, no parades, no sudden return to joy. It came quietly, in measured days that followed the trial, in routines rebuilt with care instead of command. Ashburn Keep resumed its rhythm, but the sound had changed.
Softer.
More aware, Princess Eleanor moved to a smaller residence within the eastern grounds, a place chosen for light and distance from memory. Her days followed a new structure shaped by consent. Lessons paused when she asked. Doors stayed open. Choices belonged to her. At first, she woke before dawn. Fear still lived in her muscles, waking her long before danger appeared. Some mornings, she sat by the window, wrapped in a blanket, watching the sun touch the stone walls. She learned to breathe again without rushing. Lady Ashfeld remained close, guiding gently, never forcing speech. Healing did not demand explanation. It welcomed patience. Sergeant Marcus Hale returned to regular duty 2 weeks later. His position changed. He no longer stood only at gates or corridors. He trained new guards, focusing not on posture, but perception. He taught them to notice the pause before a word, the grip that stayed too tight, the silence that lingered too long. Protection begins before violence, he told them. Listen first. The lesson spread. Protocols shifted quietly across the guard. New reporting channels opened. Independent advocates gained authority. Silence lost its usefulness. One afternoon, Princess Eleanor asked to walk the courtyard again. Not the full length, just the fountain. Marcus stood nearby, not assigned, simply present. He did not follow. He did not lead. She approached the stone where the mark still faintly showed. This is where it changed, she said. Yes, Marcus replied. She studied the stone, then looked up. I do not hear the sound anymore, she said. I remember safety instead. Marcus nodded. That is how memory heals, he said. It chooses what stays. Seasons turned. The trial reshaped the court beyond individual punishment. Oversight councils formed. Child advocates gained voice. The kingdom did not claim perfection. It chose responsibility. Princess Eleanor returned to learning with renewed curiosity. She drew again, this time with brighter colors. She laughed without checking the room first. Her satchel still stayed close, but its contents changed. Books replaced evidence. Ribbons returned. One evening, she handed Marcus a folded paper I wrote. Something, she said. He hesitated. You sure? He asked. She smiled. Yes. Note was simple. Thank you for standing when I could not. Marcus folded it carefully and placed it inside his uniform pocket, not as decoration. As a reminder, on the anniversary of the trial, the courtyard filled quietly. No officials spoke. No speeches rose. A plaque was placed near the fountain, small and unadorned. It read, Protection begins with belief. Princess Eleanor stood beside it, older now, steadier. She did not hide behind anyone. She did not need to. Marcus stood a few steps away, posture unchanged. Eyes calm, the kingdom did not forget what happened. It learned from it. And in that learning, something stronger than authority emerged. Care, courage, and the understanding that one voice, when finally heard, could change everything.